I rise today to serve notice. Mr. Speaker, you are out of compliance with the agreement that allowed you to assume this role. You boasted in January that we would use the power of the subpoena and the power of the purse. But here we are, 8 months later, and we haven't even sent the first subpoena to Hunter Biden. That's how you know that the rushed and somewhat rattled performance you just saw from the Speaker isn't real. At this point, during Democrat control over the House of Representatives, they had already brought in Don Jr. 3 times.
Okay. Congressman Matt Gaetz calling out Speaker Kevin McCarthy yesterday, even after Speaker McCarthy's decision to launch an impeachment inquiry, calling out the double standard that's playing out in front of our eyes. Gaetz calling McCarthy's move a performance and describing it as too little too late. Joining me now is Texas Congressman Ronny Jackson. Congressman, it is great to see you, sir. Well, first off, Texas Democrats are out there claiming that the impeachments of Trump and Biden, they're not the same. Well, I guess I'm going to have to agree, because I'd reason there are mountains of evidence against Joe Biden, including him admitting on tape he did the deed, and nothing but spin that the Democrats leveled against Trump. How do you see it?
Well, I see it the exact same way, Chris. You're absolutely right. I mean, there was nothing there that justified an impeachment process either time for President Trump. Absolutely nothing. They had nothing to hang their hat on. They were just, making stuff up as they went along, and they had this sham, this sham process that they put in place. Look, we're doing the impeachment inquiry now. There's tons of stuff here. There's all the shell companies that we've uncovered right now. There's the millions and millions of dollars that have gone to members of the Biden family, including grandkids and things like that. Explain to me how that happens. There's the pseudonym that Joe Biden was using for emails, and we find out that there's thousands of emails between this pseudonym and Hunter Biden and some of his business associates. There were supposedly recorded phone calls that we've heard about. There are people that have testified, whistleblowers that have come forward and said they were part of these conference calls where Joe Biden was calling. There's just an absolute mountain of evidence of corruption against the Biden crime family at this particular point. In my mind, we have more than enough to impeach him right now. I mean, I don't even think we have to go down the process of an impeachment inquiry, but that's what we're doing. That's fine. We'll gather more information. We'll get more documents released. It will give us a little more power to get some more information, but this needs to end in an impeachment of Joe Biden. He's probably the most corrupt president we've ever had.
Well, the guy admitted he's been stealing classified information since 1974. He admitted he had classified documents in his possession, but I guess we don't have to look into that. But let me focus on the Democrats, too, because this whole idea of now they're interested in evidence all of a sudden. As you mentioned, mountains of evidence against Joe Biden, yet we know there is no substantial evidence against Trump or even Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Now, during Paxton's sham impeachment trial, former Deputy Attorney General, former legal counsel Ryan Vassar admitted he and his co-conspirators went to the FBI with no evidence of a crime. Watch.
I want to get this straight. You went to the FBI on September 30th with your compatriots and reported the elected Attorney General of this state for a crime without any evidence. Yes?
That's right. We took no evidence.
Okay, so, Congressman, aren't Democrats really hypocrites for demanding evidence for impeachments when they fail to meet that standard in targeting their political enemies?
Absolutely, and this is just another example of what's going on with Ken Paxton right now, another example of the government being weaponized for political purposes. It's unfortunate, in this particular instance, even in Texas, there's a bunch of Republicans that are responsible for this. I mean, that impeachment should never have been happened. It shouldn't have ever happened in the first place, because most of the stuff that was being considered was done before he was duly elected this last time. And if you keep that in mind, the voters have spoken. If you don't like the results, I'm sorry, you don't like the results, that's fine. This is what's happening with President Trump. I mean, they mobilized the entire federal government as a weapon against President Trump and anybody else that agrees with him or is a political opponent of the right. And it's just, it's the biggest threat that we have in this country right now. I tell people all the time, if you'd asked me 3 or 4 years ago, or 4 or 5 years ago, what was the biggest threat to this country, without hesitation, I would have said China. Not anymore. I say our own federal government is the biggest threat to this country right now. The way the DOJ, the FBI, and all the other components of our government have been weaponized against us. And let's don't forget, Chris, the other thing too is the way the media has been used as a tool for this process. You know, right now, I think, we just read recently that the White House Counsel and White House officially put out guidance to the media organizations on how to handle the impeachment process. We all know that the mainstream media works for the White House, but wow, they're out in the open about it now. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. They're literally putting their instructions to the press in writing.
No, I know. Chris Salcedo Show took that memo and right into the circular file. Hey, before we go, Congressman, I got to get your reaction to the breaking news that Mitt Romney will not be seeking re-election. With all the harm Democrats have been doing to our nation that you've aptly pointed out, do you think the Surrender Caucus Republican, those like Mitt Romney there, might become an endangered species because Americans want somebody that actually stand up to all the malfeasance of the Democrats?
Well, I hope so. You know, things are getting worse by the day, and people across the board, whether you're Republican or Independent or Democrat, they're seeing the impact that this Biden administration is supported by a lot of rhino Republicans like Mitt Romney. What kind of impact Liz Cheney? You know, the list goes on and on. The impact that they're having on our personal freedoms and our livelihood. And so I think a lot of these people are going to get voted out. I think that's the reason he's probably not running again. He sees the writing on the wall. I mean, you know, he's a dead man walking. If you look at the polls right now, and you look at the way people in that part, you know, in that particular state vote. So I think that you're going to see more and more of that, and I hope we do, because, you know, it's just as if you're going to have rhino Republicans that won't stand their ground and don't have the guts to stand up and fight back, then we might as well just have Democrats in those seats.
One of the conservative warriors from the great state of Texas, Ronny Jackson, sir, thank you very much. Appreciate the time.